We have the special joint work session between the City Council and the Park Board. We'll have a call to order. And we have a roll call of the City Council, please.
Certainly. Mayor Donovan?
Here.
Councilman Nider?
Here.
Councilman Doomer? Here. Councilman Patterson?
Here.
Councilman Elliott? Here.
Should we do their roll call next, or do we go through all of our stuff first?
I would go ahead and do their roll call next.
Okay.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
We're here.
As long as the minutes, the minutes will reflect, so
Okay.
that they do have a quorum.
All right. Is there any objection to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objection, the agenda will be approved by unanimous consent. And we are now in our work session.
Okay, is that turning it over to me?
Sure, have at it.
For those that have not met me before, I'm Mark Crane. I'm your Park Board President. Jeremy Murders is our Vice President. And we don't have a secretary.
We're recruiting a secretary.
Yeah, we're recruiting a secretary, hopefully after tonight, so.
Josh volunteered for it. Josh
Oh,
here.
yeah, okay. And then I'll let you guys introduce yourselves since I don't know the all accounts or.
Yep, I'm Dallas Chatham, been on Park Board coming up on 2 years now.
I'm Melody Goldman, also been on for 2 years.
Yeah, part of what we'd like with the work session, it's been a couple of years since we have had a work session with council. We would like to get back into that rhythm of doing that. What we've brought tonight is kind of a top 10 hit list of things that we see are important to Pleasantville right now from the Park Board point of view. Some of them are staffing issues, some of them are actual physical items. Again, they're not in any particular order. But with, I think we've got about an hour for the work session. So if we can kind of keep it to 5 to 8 minutes per item, that'll kind of keep us on schedule. Is there any questions before we kind of dig in to what we brought tonight?
No, the only thing on our top 10 was to go over the Park Board ordinance and bylaws. I brought the ordinance, but I don't have access to the bylaws, so I don't know where those are at.
Okay, I have number 4 as the.
Is it on here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And again, these are not necessarily in any particular order, and maybe some of them might be easy to kind of just peruse and go through. What I put together is some items, approximate cost. These haven't really been researched heavily, but it's an approximate cost to kind of get everybody's mind in the right idea of what we're looking at. We'll start with item number 1, an additional staff member for Parks and Rec. Park Board, working with Jeff and the staff, we kind of hear the days in and days out of the struggles that they have with the amount of facility and parks maintenance that they are tasked with on top of programming. We kind of feel that that is the number 1 item that we recommend to council for review, is that they are understaffed. We did have discussion about neighboring communities, the number of parks that they have, the staffing that they have, and I understand the budget things. And so, again, we're bringing this to, we are accomplishing partial of what we feel should be accomplished. So, the additional staff member also falls into maintenance of the parks, maintenance of the new parks. Jeff, anything else you want to throw?
Just general add to the labor force, mostly because we have 3 full-time parks employees, 1 full-time, we're searching for 1 full-time rec coordinator right now, and myself on the gap fill. So we comparatively to all the neighboring communities, we are by far the most understaffed, and we are tasked with some of the bigger areas of responsibility, because most do not do building maintenance or facility maintenance, as well as park and ground maintenance, so.
We just kind of wanted to bring that out. I'll open this one up for discussion. If there's any questions or thoughts on that particular item.
What kind of timeline are you looking at?
We have no particular timeline. The nature of this list is to get it in front of council for discussion. Our optimal discussion would be as the next budget comes up,
Okay.
to look at these items. That way you are aware of it, it's in your hands. And these are the things that we see as a board are lacking or in need.
So these are not items that we need necessarily be looking at modifying our current year budget for.
No, but I mean, you can add another staff member anytime you want. Jeff's not going to.
I just wanted to know what your guys' expectations were.
How many did you say you had staff? I'm sorry.
We have 3 full-time parks, 1 rec coordinator, and myself.
Without the rec coordinator right now.
Correct.
Yeah, and
During sports.
And some, like the additional staff member, part of that discussion is just maintenance of the new parks. There, and Jeff, I'll need you to kind of lay some of that stuff out, but we've got turf, and while you don't have to mow it, there is maintenance that's included in it. We've still got native plantings that have to be updated, and what we, historically, we have not been able to do 100% of maintenance to keep the parks in safety regulations and beautification. So that's kind of why we put that as number 1, is we feel we are lacking in that department.
I would say we want to be more proactive than reactive, is where we're at with the demand that they have, and just seeing how the neighboring cities, they have staff our size or bigger just to do parks. So trying to make sure with this investment that the city made, the taxpayer made, that we can address that to keep it up to current standards and where it needs to be, so we don't get to that point in the future where we're spending more money to maintain something that if it was maintained to start with, fall into that trap.
Well, and I think the other thing that we want to emphasize in it is that we don't want to, because currently we're in a position where the staff members are, in my opinion, being overworked and asked to do more than what they're capable of. And I think that may be part of the ailment that we have had historically with turnover in the rec coordinator, turnover in the director position. Burnout. I don't, yeah, thank you. I don't want to see this be a revolving door of people. We have highly skilled, highly trained, very passionate and dedicated employees, and I don't want us to get into a position to where we lose that. I think the staff that we have, I don't know that you could go out and you could find any more people dedicated to what they do. So, okay, all right, there we go. There's anything, or if we need to circle back around to it, it may pop up in some of these other ones. The rest of the list isn't maybe necessarily in order, but through discussion, these were the things that came up.
So you would say number 1 is definitely.
Number 1 is our number 1.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The rest of them, not so much.
Okay.
Number 2 would be kayak boat launch spot at Porter Park. This has come up as a suggestion from the community to enhance the Porter Park area. There are some other things out there at Porter Park that Park Board is discussing as far as things that we could do out there. This was kind of on our top list of maybe of an attainable thing out there.
Someone came to council within the last year and asked about doing that. And we said yes. So
At that point, we were working with Harrisonville and Lake Winnebago,
Lakewood.
Lakewood. Lakewood is getting rid of some of their old docks. They're gonna take those, they were gonna give all those to Harrisonville. They ended up giving about a third of what they were planning on getting rid of to Harrisonville, and Harrisonville ended up using all of the ones that they were getting, so they weren't able to repurpose them down towards us. What we're gonna do is actually take one of those old docks and put it out there, modify it where it had an opening to where you could actually launch a kayak or a boat. We lost access to that.
And some of the things about Porter Park that have been approached with Park Board is swimming, fishing, water quality. I mean, all of these type of things have come to Park Board. And like we review those when they come across our desk. And this is kind of the one thing that we're like, okay, this is an attainable object that we can put out in the park.
Can you swim out there?
No.
Oh, I just said I didn't think you could.
No,
do
but
that.
people ask.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can
I
get
got you.
motorized boats out there. Kayak or rowboat or something like that.
Well, one thing, when I took the Parks and Facilities tour that we discussed, and we went by Porter Park, and I was out there also for the Hooks with Heroes. So we were talking about a kayak launch, and we were discussing that it might be kind of, it might be neat for maybe someone on Park Board to try to find someone who would fund that, maybe like looking for partnerships with like Bass Pro or somebody in that maybe would want to put something out there and put a naming right to it. So that was one thing we talked about, looking for a grant of some sort.
Yeah, on the list underneath that, I put a few funding potentially ideas that type of item could fall under.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay, any other discussion on that one? Okay.
Oh, I do have one question. So the kayak launch, that's what you're saying would cost between $20,000 and $45,000?
If we were to build it new
Okay.
between construction and materials.
I think the current infrastructure of Porter would need a little modification on the shore.
We have steep concrete walls around the entire perimeter, so it needs some sort of equipment to go in there and get some.
And again, the numbers that are on here are just kind of a brainstorming, get you pointed in the right direction. It's not gonna be $200.
Right.
So. Okay, item number 3, park signage, the remaining 7 signs that have been approved by council for our park system. We are missing the 7 highway and 58 highway and 1 signage out by the soccer complex heading towards Strasburg. Those are the ones that we've identified. It's been on the list for the city for a while. And I know many of those need MoDOT approval. To my understanding, we have had MoDOT approval in the past and things stalled and have not moved forward. And so we would like to see that project finished in the near future. The importance of this is if you're driving down the highway and you see an exit sign, you know there's an exit there, but it's there as a wayfinding. We feel that that's important for our parks also. There's many residents that if you tell them, go to Gofford Fitness Park, have no idea where it's at, never heard of it. So, different items. The signage, it's not gonna make the city any money, but it's more quality of life, wayfinding. I'll use the soccer complex as an example. Throughout the soccer season, you're gonna have 4,000 to 6,000 visitors to the soccer association on a Saturday. Those people are coming from Lone Jack, Harrisonville, Grandview, Raymore, all over South Kansas City. Many of people do have Google Maps, a lot of them use it, but once they get close enough, within a mile, 2 miles, they may turn that off and they're looking for it. With the hill, also, I think wayfinding would be important if we're planning on doing any type of baseball tournaments, soccer tournaments, softball tournaments. I think,
Pickleball.
pickleball. I think as we are trying to invite these people to come to our community, we should really seriously talk about finishing this project.
So this is something that city council has already approved
Mark
previously.
Duffy approved it.
I was gonna say, I think it had been approved, but there was a reason, this before I got on council, but I know it's been talked about.
I believe it was brought to council in 2020 and approved in 2021.
Did they postpone it though because they were still trying to decide on aesthetically what the signs were going to look like, so we didn't have a hodgepodge of
I
signs?
don't know initially, but yes, that was one of the things we've asked for recently, was to wait until we got the initial signage done at the Hill so that we had some sort of consistent look. We had used the city of Olivet, had put together like a full like signage, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for, but just basically like showing, you know, how all signage would look throughout the community. And so we kind of looked through that, and that's what we actually used to kind of create some of the signage that we did within the Project P. So like the signage out at the city lake has the exact same, I mean, they're different colors because each, you know, park had, well, I say each park, like the Hill, obviously we kind of allocate, like that was obviously the purples and the golds, and the city park and city lake is the golds and the burgundies, and so, but all of that signage have the same fonts, have the same look about them, and so that was when, more recently, we had asked to kind of put a pause on the rest of the signage until we got that done, so that the signage, the wayfinding signage that we use has kind of a consistent look with it. So, but I do believe we're also working, Tony's been working on some street signage. That was part of an item that was improved in the last budget. So we had some discussions about doing some of that all together, not knowing if there was any reduction in price, you know, just on volume alone. But as Mark did say, so we have identified, I was actually just sitting here trying to pull it up real quick. I can't find it right off the top of, like, they have like of the areas that, you know, a highlighting of where they would like the wayfinding signage. So we had quickly put together of like on that wayfinding signage, like what would be, you know, consistent on, you know, at this location, you would put, you know, the Hill, Quarter Lake with, you know, an arrow straight, you know, all of those. So some of those basic concepts have already been worked through. It's just now a matter of getting them completed. But I'll go back to Mark saying some of that too was a turnover. I mean, obviously, even in my short time, I mean, we're, you know, I've been the park director now on 2 different occasions, and also having 2 directors, like, you know, sometimes just the onboarding process alone takes typically a year. So as to Mark's point, like when you do have turnover, it will basically could derail some projects by more than a year, just until we get, you know, all back and caught up.
I guess the thing about it is, I mean, if it's already been approved, if we could just go ahead and try to finish this up, that would be.
Was there money put aside whenever it was approved, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it's already.
Yeah, that was in the budget.
Yeah, it's been in the budget multiple times to finish it up. Like I said, that's one of those lingering projects that we would like to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one to get done, I think.
So who coordinates that?
Me.
Okay.
So he's got that look on his face.
It's not easy.
It's
No, that,
We're
that's
easy,
nothing.
yeah. We're easy to do.
Well, and I mean, I don't know that anyone on the park board is particular on design, shape, color of the signage. But I mean, anything very basic, the Hill this way, 1 mile, I mean, we're just wanting.
Well, I do think though you have to keep them somewhat uniform, otherwise we're gonna have a hodgepodge of signs all over town and.
I'm
We're
just
going to the
saying,
most congested areas already, so making that and making it purposeful.
We have to meet MoDOT requirements.
I was saying, and they will only allow us to have a certain number of signs, and so the ideal is obviously getting it together to maximize the permits that we do get, to make sure that it meets the needs, not just now, but for quite some time in the future, because I mean, I can tell you the sign, the historic district sign at 7 and Cedar Street took nothing short of close to 10 years to be able to accomplish with MoDOT, with all fundraising and then getting all of that in. Obviously in that time things changed, but I'm not even exaggerating that I bet we worked on that for close to 10 years before that historic district sign went in at Cedar and 7 at that little area. So.
and the other part of the discussion that has happened throughout the years is not cluttering up 50, 58, 7. Right? You don't want a gazillion signs.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that has been part of the discussion. And I believe the locations, you've got the list, don't you? I believe the locations have been approved in the past as far as where the signage would be put. And I know that there's been a review of size of font, color of sign, like that has all been turned over previously. So,
I mean, obviously, with Jeff pulling double duty at this, I mean, it's not gonna happen right away.
oh, no,
I mean, but,
it's been 6 years.
I mean-
I get it. Yeah,
What's a couple months?
yeah, I mean, we're not saying tomorrow. I'm just, again, this is, to bring it to everyone's attention that it's out there. Item number 4, maintenance budget for the parks and ordinance review. I kind of combined this together because during our meeting, this kind of overlapped each other a little bit. Jessica, do you want to jump in there on that one? Because I know you gathered some information. That you
Well, so I just wanted to go over the ordinance, the park board ordinance, so that as a new liaison on park board, I really don't know much about park board, and there are fairly new park board associates, and we have some empty seats, so just thought it would be a good time to go over it. So, do you want me to read it aloud?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first section is establishment and appointment. A park board is established and the mayor, by and with the consent of the city council, shall appoint a park board consisting of 9 directors chosen from the qualified citizens of the city. The term of office, the park board, after the term of the initial member, shall hold office for 3 years. Removal, the mayor may, with the consent of the city council, remove any park board director or perform misconduct or negligent duty. Vacancies and compensation. Vacancies on the park board occasioned by removal, resignation, or otherwise shall be reported to the city council and be filled in like manner as original appointments. No director shall receive compensation for service on the park board. If anybody has any questions as I go along.
Can we change it?
You
I'm just,
you can put it on your ask.
I'm kidding.
it falls under 5.
Yeah. Organization exclusive control of expenditures. Park board director shall immediately, after their appointment, meet and organize the election of one of their number as president. Mark. And by the election of such other officers as by they may deem necessary, they shall make and adopt such bylaws, rules, and regulations for the guidance and for the government of the park as may be expedient, non-consistent with RSMO 90.500 and 90.570. They shall have exclusive control of the expenditures of all money collected to the credit of the park fund and of the supervision, improvement, care, and custody of park. All monies received for the park shall be deposited in the treasury of the city of the credit of the park of the city to the credit of the park fund and shall be kept separate and apart from the other monies of the city and drawn upon by the proper officers of the city upon the properly authenticated vouchers of the park board. The board shall have the power to purchase or otherwise secure grounds to be used for such park, shall have the power to appoint to a suitable person to take care of the park and necessary assistance for such person and fix their compensation, shall have the power to remove such appointees, and shall in general carry out the spirit and intent of RSMO 90-50, RSMO 90-570 in establishing and maintaining parks, public parks. Additional powers. The park shall have the power to exclude any person from any recreational activities on the lake or grounds for drunken and disorderly conduct of any kind or for failing to comply with this article or the rules and regulations set by the park board. Annual report. The park board of directors shall make on or before the second Monday in June an annual report to the city council stating the condition of their trust on May 1st, and that year accounting for the various sums of money received from the park fund and other sources, and how much monies have been expended and for what purposes, with such other statistics, information, and suggestions as they may deem of their general interest. The financial statement of the park board shall be published All such portions of such report as relates to the receipt and expenditures of money shall be verified by affidavit. Any person desiring to make donations of money, personal property, or real estate for the benefit of the park shall have a right to vest the title to the money or real estate so donated by the park board created under RSMO 90.500, I'm sorry, I'm not saying that right, 90.570, to be held and controlled by such board which accepted according to the terms the deed of the gift devised or bequest of such property, and as to such property the board shall be held and considered to be special trustees. I do have RSMO 90.500 here and 90.500 or 570 here. But the reason why that I wanted to go over this was because I don't understand how our budget process works alongside with Park Board. And as a council liaison, I want to make sure that we're clear, because it's my understanding that Park Board does not have any oversight with the budget. And I don't know what items fall to that, how we know what goes into the park fund that they are supposed to oversee, or if we're not operating in compliance with our own ordinance. So I don't understand how that'll work. So I'm hoping that some council can give me some background on that.
There's 3 funding mechanisms.
So I think that's probably a good place to start, Mark, is what are the funding mechanisms for Park Board?
Well, I can tell you in state statute, the park board only has authority over the park levy. So that's why our park fund is made up of more than just the park levy. So the park levy is the property tax piece.
Okay.
We also have the park sales tax. And then the general fund also transfers money to the park fund. So there's only one piece of that pot that technically, according to state statute, the board has direct authority over. It's
And that would be donated or whatever financial or property that is donated to the city.
So external sources.
So is how I always interpreted it.
the levy plus any donation. So I think the levy is the smallest one.
So the revenue, the property tax revenue that is generated by the levy, this current budget year is only estimated to bring in $114,713 of a $782,000 budget.
Then the sales tax covers the debt obligation on the bond, right? Isn't that how that works?
Actually, let me go back. I apologize. I came down the actual, because there's some you have to take out for delinquencies. What is 114? Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, I came down to the next screen. Yeah. So, 114,713 is currently what the levy generates. So based on state statute, that is truly all that the park board has statutory authority over. So historically then, I mean, it's, like Mark said, if somebody were to donate like a piece of property, the park board can accept, a piece of property. Historically, the problem is even with $114,000, even if a property was donated, again, there's going to be required maintenance, and for the most part, our levy would not cover that. So then that's when the other funds that the city council has control over would then has to basically subsidize to make an entire park system operate and run.
Okay. So so for the levy piece of that, does that get reviewed with park board, or how does that work? I'm just, I
You don't get to choose how, the levy is set by basically this, by the state,
right. Well, like
You're saying that 114,000.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
how it
that's
gets
what
spent.
how does
I
the
think-
park board get consulted on how it's spent?
In the past, it's been through some of these conversations, but at the end of the day, to say, yes, if they want to say like, we want it spent on X, Y, and Z, that can happen. It's just that then it all has to piece together, because you can't run an entire park system on $114,000.
Right, that's where I was thinking, because Marcus, I was saying is, it might be good to like maybe restructure some of the, like where some of these requests, like, I don't know how we like actually get into a mode of doing that, but, along with our budget year, how, maybe have a work session along with our budget year, instead of post.
I think that what's been difficult historically is that 114,000, your biggest expense in the park fund is people. So if you pull out that 114,000 from the budget and say that's no longer part of the funding source, that's just for park board to decide, then you're then cutting. I mean, you then don't have the money for the people. So I think that's where historically the hope is that the relationship between the director and the board is strong enough that he has a good understanding of the needs and wants of the board and is able to include that as part of the budget process. But yeah, without having a bunch of extra money, there's not really, I mean, most of that park fund is just maintenance and
Yeah.
project.
One of the things that we've had in our minutes in the past is leading into budget, just a budget review. But park board has never really had much decision-making, not in the last 8 years, much decision-making in like, oh, we need to put money here, whatever. We're not getting that any longer, and I think part of that is because of turnover, like it has just fallen out of the rhythm. Just making everybody aware of where we're at.
Right, so that's where I think that's where I guess I'm curious, because the ordinance says that it should have, it shouldn't be combined with other things, so I don't know if we need to change that, or if we need to.
I think what that means is that it's not to be combined, like the park levy is not going into the general fund, or it's not going into the water sewer fund. Like
That's how I interpret it also.
Yeah, it's own separate.
And it has been held up in case law, in this mechanism, because this is actually how it is pretty much in every city. Most park levies aren't enough, don't generate enough money to sustain a park fund solely by itself. So most of the time there's other sources of revenues. And so just as Kristen said, I mean, it is held separately, like it has its own line item in the budget, so we know exactly how much it generates. It's just, as Kristen said, individually by itself, I mean, you can pull out, let's say if you wanted, you wanted $50,000 out of that $114,000 to do project X, then again, it's still, then you'd have to find $50,000 somewhere else to then sustain the rest of the park fund.
Yeah. I understand that. I'm just, the way the ordinance reads, it seems like they're not, I don't know, at least from what I've gathered from our meetings.
That we're not doing some significant review year in and year out.
Correct, or giving an annual report, a financial report like we're supposed to be. So.
I don't get any money, so it'll be a short report.
So I don't know how that would get reviewed, or.
Well, I mean, it's reviewed, and again, I mean, how we've done it in the past or how we want to do it can be changed. It's just, like, we do an annual report for the entire city as a whole. Well, obviously, park operations are underneath there. So again, that's technically the report that is given. It shows forth what, park operations have gone on.
That's fulfilling the obligation.
It's fulfilling the obligation of the state statute, yeah.
If there was a surplus, we could then decide and use it for projects, but there's not been a surplus, that's where we're at.
To my knowledge.
I don't know.
I don't see a reason to change the ordinance. I think.
Well, we really can't change the ordinance because the ordinance is directly pretty much quoted out of state statute. It's just the interpretation of it. And again, I mean, it's actually, this has been challenged. This specific state statute has been challenged numerous times in court, and it has been upheld. There's case law out there that says basically like how we are operating is, I would guess, how pretty much 90% of the cities are close to that are all operating. But it is proven by case law that the only thing that the park board has any control over is what money is generated from the levy.
And really, from speaking for the park board, my one request would be that we do get that put into our agenda on a yearly basis at that time. And it currently is not being done.
So like in January-ish,
Before new budgets come out.
Well, thank you for talking through that process. It helps me understand it as well.
And again, if we were an administrative board, it would be slightly different. My position would be a paid position, and then I would have more oversight of operating budget. But because we're advisory, it's a different mechanism. Am I understanding that correctly? All right, that's how I was trained and how we proceed. Okay, all right. Next one, my favorite, dog park, picnic tables, and playground toys. It has been brought up over the last couple of years that the dog park is slightly lacking. There's just some amenities where folks could sit down while their dogs run, maybe shade structure. There's a plethora of different playground toys, obstacles that could be added out there, and that's basically that.
So like agility stuff or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, some leftover drainage culverts for them to run through, or
Something nicer than that.
You can-
Some shades so their poles aren't
Yeah.
burning hot.
If you've seen Lee Summit's dog park, they have a lot of stuff like that.
and I will say, as somebody that works weekly with like our grant writer, some of these things that you've put on here, like at the end of this, obviously, as long as that's the direction, I have no problem handing this to her and saying like, hey Tara, these are some of the things that we would like to look at, go see what you can find. And, like we actually, have tried to apply for a PetSmart grant here, actually for down at the animal shelter. I will say we didn't meet the qualifications because on that specific grant, we didn't have enough intake of animals down at the animal shelter to meet their needs or meet their requirements. But I have no problem taking this and saying
See, we got plenty of animals down there now.
Trying to get next.
And again, a lot of the information on here is just kind of brainstorming
Sure.
to kind of point us in the right direction.
Am I wrong by thinking that so the dog park's been there for 10 years?
Yeah, right out, yeah.
And wasn't that an idea that a group of people in the community wanted to put that together?
It was a donation to help do the fencing. It was a piece of property the city already owns, and so it was a donation to establish it. So to do the grade work, do the fencing, parking lot, the parking lot came later, but
That was Paul's, right?
Paul and Matt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I know it used to flood there by the gates. Has that been remedied? Have that?
Yeah, I think that's been fixed.
I've only been there a couple of times, so okay.
Okay, and we're good on that one. Number 6, native plantings for the parks. This has been something that I would say over the last 2 years we've really kind of dug into with the park board, trying to research some opportunities, grants, what other communities are doing. Part of the motivation behind it is to take some of the mowing out of the equation, save some labor, save some time. Part of the city park design with Prop P was to have native plantings down there to do some erosion control and beautification. And that has not been completed with the Prop P. I believe there were some plantings that were done that did not take for multitude of reasons. But Lee Summit is probably the one that I'll use as reference. They have used highway easements and their park surrounding easements for native plantings. Some information to know about that is that takes 2 to 3 years to establish before you really start seeing the benefit of what you have done. The other side of it is helping your pollinators and native wildlife have habitat. So we would like to see an emphasis on that in our community, and there's no shortage of areas that it can be applied to.
Is that something that, you can divide from other places? Like, we have Hosted, we divide them all the time and push them away. Is there?
Yeah, I mean, there are opportunities, and again, that's something that you can maybe get community garden involved with, or Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts during certain times of the year. You can do seed collection and then repurpose those. There are native grasses that are easily propagated to move to other areas. So yes, I mean, with some foresight and some planning, maybe you take some initial funding and you purchase the items that can be used for that purpose.
What about the Prop P, though, if that, are they replacing that at the park if it didn't take off, or?
So some of it, yeah. So we kind of took our first stab at some native grasses plantings during our Prop P projects, because again, going back to kind of, item number one, when we did that, we know that our resources for a time perspective are very, very limited. And so our hope is that what some improvements that then we were being made weren't, again, continuing to add to the workload of the staff. And so it's something new for, I guess, us. I mean, like, I'll be honest, I actually drove through the park here this afternoon, and I know what it's there, but I think we have probably some residents that drive by and it might create some heartburn because it just looks like we have it mowed, in area. But, as Mark said, it does take some time to really do what it's supposed to do. And in the meantime, it might give some heartburn, but I mean, the end goal is just that, is to try and kind of create some areas that minimize some mowing, give back to, the environment as far as from, a pollination standpoint and all of that. But it has been kind of a little bit of a learning curve for us. But we do, if there's areas that didn't really take from a native side and are just kind of weeds, like, we're addressing that when we're doing our walkthroughs, as that project is close to near.
And like one of the areas that's very specific out of the city park area is the detention pond area down by the tennis courts. That there was lengthy conversations about, like, that needs to be native. Like, we don't need to be mowing around that.
Right.
And there's plenty of native plants that are suited for that. And I think what we had identified is the plants that were originally planted there were not the correct type of plant for what we're trying to accomplish there.
They use one native seed mixture for the entire prairie area and the retention pond.
And different type of plants will establish and take over in
Right.
different spots, wet versus dry. So, yeah.
Well, in one area, just down the hill from like the Roosters baseball field, I think we could just put in a bunch of milkweed down there. And USDA, I'm looking at doing it down at my place down the lake. They pay you a reasonable amount of money per acre.
The Dallas has been very active over the last year, attending a lot of meetings, get-togethers, trainings on this particular subject. And there's a lot. We've got a nonprofit in Blue Springs that's very active in trying to, promote this stuff. Again, it takes a little bit of money to get it going, but there are grants and scholarships and stuff available for that particular project.
And I think too, what we're gonna find out, like at the hill, for instance, there's areas that they've tried to replant. It's gonna be wherever it ends up, it's gonna be a fight to get regular turf grass to grow out there. So trying to go back with something that is established for this area, in the long run, we're gonna save money, because I don't think it's ever gonna look like we want to in some of those areas. It's just too dry. You don't have sprinkler systems, the maintenance needs. So there's clear areas like that too. I think we're chasing our tail, so to speak, if we don't start doing something different out there. They'll never get where we want.
And up at the hill, some of it is erosion control, and some of the other of it is wayfinding, that the people are walking through the mud and tracking mud onto the new facilities. And with some of these plantings, you can discourage people.
Sure.
If you put some native grass there, they're less likely to cut through and stay on the sidewalk. So, again, these are just things that we have discussed and that we've been able to identify. Number 7, primitive camping upgrades at Brown's Arm. This was something that was originally talked about with the Prop P and kind of got line itemed out. We think that this is the next step for City Lake to encourage camping and tourism and biking and disc golf out there. And again, it's one of those type of projects that you can start with 2 campsites. A couple of years later, you can do another 2 campsites. It doesn't have to be 10 at one time. So again, this is one of the things we wanted to kind of get out in front of. Again, we're talking about maybe a concrete pad for a picnic table, a 4x4 post with a hook on it to hang your trash bag. Fire pit is kind of high on the list out there to discourage people from making campfires in the middle of a big grassy field. So there's some safety things that go into that too. But this is some of the ideas that we've come up with to continue to improve the City Lake area.
And for visibility, there is some funding that was put forth towards some capital improvement sales tax that we're doing Brown's Arm improvements this year. It's only a small portion of what this overall allowance is, so it's more like a recurring continual improvement plan. So I think we're more like what we're talking about.
This one, I see something that you can do really quickly and easily and build on it.
Yep.
You know, every year.
Yeah. Any other discussion on that one? Item number 8, the bridge at Brown's Arm. Again, it is serviceable at this time, but we would like to bring it to the City Council's attention that if this is a long-term budgetary thing, it's things that we would like to start looking at. Again, it's accessibility, it's safety, it's, if we're trying to get more traffic to City Lake for usage, this is one of those items that needs to be kind of front of mind awareness.
Where would,
Yeah, so
where
we're
exactly would that
Big
be?
bag location.
If you go in the main entrance, you switch back, right back on
Yeah.
by the wooden rail.
Yeah.
You go down through the woods, and as you cross through the woods, there's a very narrow, barely enough for a pickup truck to drive through that bridge. That's the bridge I'm talking about.
Okay.
It goes up towards the Brown's Arm side.
Okay.
It's getting to where if we want to promote more usage out there, it's a bottleneck and it really needs to start at some point addressed to allow.
So it'd have to be completely replaced.
The bridge itself would have to be replaced, and we'd probably need to create a wider path that goes through on both sides, because for 200 yards on either side of it, you can't, there's no way for 2 vehicles to pass each other.
Oh, my.
And item number 9, shade structure and seating at City Park. With the usage and attendance that we have seen since we've redone City Park, it is our recommendation that we create some type of shade structure down there near the splash pad playground area and seating. Again, it's one of those things that we have seating out there, but we feel that there needs to be more.
I think this did come up when we did the Prop P, but it's some of those line item things out to value engineers. But Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had some comments come up from the community about,
We have,
hey, we like sitting out here, but man, it's really hot out here. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable to sit there, so something.
I would encourage you to go down to the animal shelter, they just put some shade structure up over there, something like that would be good, because there's not a whole lot of real estate behind the sidewalk where you're looking to do that without a significant grade drop, so trees would be hard to get planted there, a shade structure like that would be.
So they're looking at doing that between the retention pond and the splash pad.
Yeah, right up off the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's what I think.
And I've heard the turf is really, really hot, so it's have to, you can't be barefoot out there, which I want them to be, but.
I would like to see a couple of more benches put down by the pickleball court. Just telling you that my family does their own little pickleball tournaments. So you got people, 10 or 12 of us that have to wait till you know what I'm saying? So we're all sitting on the concrete. If you just put a couple more benches down there would be
Yeah.
awesome.
I would
The-
encourage
That's a
businesses
hill.
to donate
At the
benches.
hill.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just as Jeff said, the shade structures that we just installed at the animal shelter, we actually asked Scott Villas if he would get us the scope of work that Monarch used for that. So that because a lot of times when we apply for grants, like you have to have so much of that lead work already done. And so since we have that, like Jeff said, because my thought was not only the city park, but was to do something out of the pickleball courts as well. Like they're on what I would say is the east side of that sidewalk.
Yeah.
Same thing, that you could kind of cover the sidewalk to give some shade out there. So Scott is actually gonna get those to us, so that same thing, that we can work with Tara to try to see if there's some grants out there. We had actually already applied for one last year through the American Skin Cancer Society, American Dermatology Association. They do some shade structures. We did not get awarded it, but that will be one we'll continue to apply for, but it was just that. It was some shade structures at City Park. So we also have been working, looking for a way to potentially do some seating, kind of a conceptual drawing of, I'll use concrete, but that you make it look like stone to go along the edge of the sidewalk to, again, when that park was created, like we talked about the native grass seed, it was the thought of this, some sort of like a natural feel. So instead of just, not that we can't do some more metal benches, because that's sometimes the easiest, but to also do some sort of like, what I'm gonna call like rock ledge type seating, where there's that, it creates a visual, but it also can serve as seating as well. So we've had that, again, it'll just come down to some money.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've heard a lot of feedback about is the shade and the seating, because parents are having to bring their folding chairs, and if they're not doing that, then they're sitting in the sun. But they want to be able to be close to their kids while they're running around and not have to sit far away.
I would see about businesses donating or putting a plaque on a bench. I'm fairly sure the shoemakers do that. Like, I can think of a few that would probably fund a bench. So, I don't know who would
Would they be interested in adopting a park?
Well, that's a big,
Okay, any other discussion on that item 9?
Well, you don't want to hear me say it needs a bathroom down there at that end. Because the kids that have to practice and play football down there and pickleballs, and I'm a visual, so just think about, they're clear here, and you gotta take a little,
At the hill.
at the hill. They need another bathroom.
Well, the boys they like to just go on the trees.
I know, but it's not,
So that was a component of the initial hill project, that obviously we didn't have the funding to do it, so it was kind of a phase 2, if you want to call
And
it.
it is stuff for
Yes, it is.
facilities.
Yeah, we did run the utilities so that it would make it easier at the time it came, because obviously during infrastructure, building is when the time to do that, but yes, I agree.
And then, in my last 7 minutes, we have the community building at the fairgrounds. This has been kind of an ongoing subject. I guess for me, I kind of just want to ask questions. Where are we with what the future holds out there?
We've been in that building since my daughter's like
it's
2.
horrible.
Oh,
It needs to be torn down.
She's 19, so.
I know, what was it? The Casper Center, didn't they just want to do some flooring work out?
We did some structural, yes, took some sheeting out that was separating. We looked to investigate to see if there was any damage to the joist. Surprisingly, there was not, so it was mostly just the sheeting that we took up. We set up some flooring back down just to give some sort of cover to that, but the substructure alone is actually in pretty good shape, but their windows have a lot of issues, and all the mechanical equipment have issues, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that building to make it livable if people want to do that.
For the mold issues?
There's, with problems with windows, mold comes as a natural component.
It would be safe to say, Jeff, it's getting to the end of its life,
Yes.
if not.
It's been repurposed from the other side of the street.
I think it's already there.
But, okay, so, again, the reason this is on the list is that it is something that we hear about very often. With a facility either not being rentable, usable, but yet then people still see us using it for the fair and other things. And so there's a lot of confusion on what the status of that particular building is. So that is why it is kind of on here. Because we bring this list to council to be aware of. These are the things that we're hearing, these are the things that we're identifying.
And that's one, because I did tour that one as well with Jeff, where the foundation of it is, okay, it's good, in good shape. So if we could do some community partnering or something for HVAC, things like that, I don't know that it would be, I don't think it's in a tear down state. I don't know. Maybe we could look at some.
It could be a usable room. I think that space has a lot better purpose with a different building spot.
I think the whole footprint needs to change where it's at.
Where it's at the parking lot, it makes it awkward to park around it. It's just, there's a lot of things that are challenges for that.
And again, this particular building is kind of a gray area for park board, because we don't necessarily have any say in what goes on at the fairgrounds or upgrades or schedule or anything like that, because it, again, is that gray area outside of facilities and parks. But we get a lot of feedback about this particular subject.
We're getting more actions down on down there, like people are using more of the summers. If we can keep that momentum, maybe we can set aside an account to just go back to the community building. But I don't know where that money's gonna come from. Like,
Well, right.
that's why I'm like, maybe
I
if
don't
we.
know if a pole barn would be all that expensive to put a pole barn down there.
We have some conceptuals on 2 different occasions. Jake Talene, who's our park director before Jeff, had worked with somebody on a potential to basically knock that building down and to rebuild it different. It was a steel frame type building. We actually had a conceptual building drawn in 2015 as well. A little bit different of a, Jake's was big enough that it had at least 1 basketball court in there, to try to help give us a little bit of breathing room sometimes when we're stretched pretty thin with the space that we're able to use at the schools, during our winter programming. The other one was more of just kind of a rentable space. It didn't have like a big enough for a basketball court, but we have a conceptual that was done as a donation back in 2015 that would have also helped add on to allow us to expand the livestock shows during the fair. But so it's been there. I mean, there's the conversation there. It's just come down to some.
Okay, that completes our list, and I just want to say thank you for allowing Park Board to come address you guys and share our ideas and concerns. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Is there anything from council that? Is there a way we can go through this list and maybe see about some of these things that we could try to get grants for, to try to, what we could work on?
Yeah, and I think, what we really wanted to accomplish with this work session is, as you all are about to head into your strategic planning session, we wanted to make sure that you heard from Park Board kind of what their priorities are, so that we can include some of these things in our 5-year strategic plan. And I think once we have that plan in place, we'll have a better idea of timelines and funding sources and things like that we can start going after as part of the bigger overall plan.
Okay.
And obviously that is in July. So
Right, that's the end of July.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will have I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Doomer,
Yes.
Councilman Patterson,
Yep.
Councilman Elliott.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Good
We're gonna
evening.
take